Hi, welcome back to the Barrett channel. Welcome to another video. I'd like to give you all an update on the situation with the coronavirus here in China. So, as of the official news this morning by the Chinese state media, there are now 830 plus confirmed cases and 25 deaths. And they've also confirmed the first death outside of the epicenter of the city of Wuhan. Now, so yesterday, the Chinese authorities took the unprecedented decision to, in effect, lock down Wuhan and two other cities in Hubei province. And just to give you an idea of the scale of this, Wuhan alone is a city of 11 million people. That is roughly 5 times the size of London. So you can imagine what a huge task this is. So when I say lockdown, they've effectively quarantined the city of Wuhan, a neighbouring city of Huanggang, and another smaller city. So in total there's somewhere around 18 to 20 million people in China being quarantined. Okay, as we're editing this video and it was about to go live, some additional news has come in from the Chinese authorities via the Associated Press, and that additional news is that the authorities have now took the decision to quarantine a total of 8 cities in Hubei province to stop the spread of this virus. And those 8 cities encompass a total of 25 million people. So they've stopped buses, coaches, flights, aeroplanes, flights, and rail links. Now, there's a number of issues here. So first of all, that Wuhan is a major rail transport hub for the high-speed intercity trains here in China. Now, a lot of people will change trains at Wuhan on their way to their final destination. So I really don't know how that is going to affect things. Maybe any Chinese citizens who are watching the video will know that and can put something in the comments. But I guess trains that don't stop, that normally stop at Wuhan, will just go straight through Wuhan and continue on to their final destinations. I personally, or we and my friends, we were going to travel to Chongqing over the Chinese New Year, but due to this outbreak of the coronavirus, we've decided not to travel. And normally, when you cancel a train ticket, you don't receive a full 100% refund. There's some administration charge, maybe 10%, 15%, so you will lose out. But what the Chinese authorities have said is that they will issue, or they've directed the travel authorities to issue full 100% refunds, and they're advising people in about a total of 7 cities not to travel at all. There is no such ban yet here in Guangdong province, as far as I'm aware. I'm in the city of Shenzhen. Now, I think there's actually 4 or 5 confirmed cases in Shenzhen. In total, in the Guangdong province, there's about 25 cases. But you really need to get that into perspective. There's some really big cities in Guangdong province. Tens of millions of people. So it's actually a very small amount. And it seems that all those people who've been diagnosed outside of Hubei province, outside of Wuhan city, are people that have either traveled to Wuhan recently or had relatives that have traveled to Wuhan recently. But part of the problem, because Wuhan is such a big travel hub, it's also a big city for business. Many people in the last 2 weeks will have travelled to and from Wuhan, and this is probably why you're now seeing a small amount of cases pop up in different countries, Japan, Korea. I think Vietnam had their first confirmed case yesterday. And I believe Scotland in the UK now have also got 4 suspected cases. I believe that was news that was released yesterday. Although they're not confirmed, they are suspected cases. And I believe those people had been to visit China and maybe even Wuhan. I can't be 100% sure on that. So this is, you know, the problem is that many people have travelled outside of Wuhan, who've been in Wuhan for the last few weeks while this virus has been active. And I think that the issue here is the Chinese authorities are being very, very transparent. But I think they have an issue where they need to balance the transparency of the situation without, you know, unduly alarming the public. There's a lot of crazy rumours being circulated on Chinese social media, and personally I really don't think that helps. I think it's, you know, you should only sort of convey news that is actually official news, that you can verify that is actually true, rather than having false rumours circulating in social media, because that just, you know, helps panic people a little more. I think from what I can see, that the Chinese authorities are very on top of the situation. They are updating the people on a fairly regular basis, at least daily, if not more often, of numbers and advice what to do. They've sort of have precautionary travel bans in 7 cities now, suggesting that people don't travel at all. I think this is a very sensible thing. You know, one of the big problems at the timing of this outbreak is that it's Chinese New Year, and hundreds of millions of people normally travel around the country back from cities to their relatives in the more rural hometown areas. I'm in Shenzhen. I went out yesterday to a shopping centre, and although Shenzhen right now is very, very quiet because many people have left the city for the Chinese New Year, I found that probably 70% of people were wearing masks, and you know, the city was much quieter than it normally is. So I think people really are taking heed to stay in and travel less, and I think this will be the key to getting this virus under control. Obviously, the more people that travel around, the bigger problem it is. So I think the Chinese authorities have been absolutely correct in you know, doing what they've done. And if I think it's one of the first times this has ever happened. There's no the authorities have not said how long this ban will last for, and I think from what I read from experts, I think the worst is yet to come, because this virus takes a number of days to start showing itself. So there'll be many people who've travelled from the epicenter in Wuhan to places thinking they're okay because they've showed no symptoms. Maybe 4 or 5 days later, symptoms start to show, but by then they may have already passed it on to others. I think the other thing to note here is that the people who have died have generally been older people or people with other medical complications, and I think this is very similar to the flu in other countries. You know, this is responsible for also killing many people, the influenza bug, but again, I think it generally has this issue when people have weak immune systems, or they're elderly, or have some other medical complications. And actually in Shenzhen or Guangdong, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember whether it was Guangdong as a province or Shenzhen as a city, 2 of the people who were previously confirmed as having this virus have now recovered and been released from hospital. So I think if you're sort of healthy and fit, there's probably less need to worry. I think the bigger worry is for elderly people or sick people. So yeah, that's a thing. Ongoing, I think that there's a big lesson that the authorities will learn here. I think one, they learned a lot from their handling of a similar crisis back in 2002, 2003 with the SARS, where they haven't tried to cover up. But I see from what I've seen, they've been very, very open about the situation. But I think that the problem will continue to be these sort of markets, sort of wet markets where wild animals are sold, because there's absolutely no control over this whatsoever. There's many sellers at these markets that go out, they catch wild animals, they sell them. Nobody has any idea whether they have infections or viruses or whatever. So I think this is something that I guess I would like to believe that the authorities will really look at hard. Once, obviously, they're not going to do that right now because they're doing their best to get on top of this and control this outbreak. But I think after that is done, they really must look at why this happened and put in measures so it don't happen again. I've seen some of these more sort of rural places, and there's been some stuff on social media recently where people are eating bats and bat soup and rats and that, and these are the kind of animals that are absolutely rife for spreading disease. I just can't imagine why anybody would want to eat a bat. I think it probably stems back to some of the older generation where they see eating wild animals is okay, but it really isn't. I think any meat or poultry that you eat, you want to make sure it's gone through a proper process of control, so it's been disease checked before it reaches the markets, before it reaches consumption stage. So I really hope that this is something the authorities here will look at closely and deeply once this epidemic, this outbreak is dealt with. So just to recap, as I say, currently 830 plus cases with 25 deaths. Cities are in kind of a lockdown quarantine, so there's no transport out of Wuhan, and I think that they're trying to. It's almost impossible to block everybody. There will be people who manage to leave the city on smaller roads, but all the major roads, all the toll booths on the major roads have been manned by either police or the armed forces here in China. So yeah, I will bring you any more updates as I get more news. But for now, everybody out there, do your best to stay safe, and as always, take care.